In this video, I'm going to show you how to create an exam, and we'll make it in two parts. We're going to create part of the exam as multiple choice questions or true false, and the other part of the exam will be the written exam or the essay. And the reason we're doing it that way is because we need to be able to grade them separately because of the way the points are configured. For instance, pardon me, once I put points into an object that has an exam in it that is multiple choice, so I'm using the assess tool, I cannot append any of those points. That's why I need to separate those. So I'm going to show that to you now. So the first thing I would do would be to create a container. I'm going to drag a container in here, and that container is going to be my exam container. So I'm going to name that exam. Next thing I'll do is add objects to that. So I'm going to start dragging those objects in. We're going to drag two in, one for the multiple choice and the other for the written part of the exam. So let's go ahead and give those names. So for this one, we're going to call this multiple choice. And this one we're going to call essay. So it's, again, two parts of the exam. Let's open up multiple choice. And actually, let's open up essay first. Open up that one and let's go ahead and change the icon first. So let's change this to the quiz or exam icon. And then let's load. In this case, I have a Word document. I'm going to click Attach File and then locate the exam document. There's the exam essay document. Click Open, and that's going to load into the system. Now you'll see how this is running. The Save button, wait until that's finished. Then once it's done, then click Save. That way you'll be sure that it's fully uploaded before you hit the Save button. So now that exam document has been attached. Next, you'll add content, pardon me, to the student content area. So in this case, I might say something to this effect. Please complete the attached exam and submit it to your instructor. Obviously, you'll put more information than that, but that'll get us close. So I'm going to add the attached exam. I'm going to link to it. So I'm going to highlight that text and then go to Link Attachment. Click on that actual thing that I already uploaded and then click OK. So now there is a link to the exam as part of that text. Click Done Editing. And so now I've added the attachment with the exam information in it. I've given some basic, for the example, some basic instructions. And I've changed the icon. So next, we want to configure the points. So if it's a 100-point exam, just as an example, if it's a 100-point exam and we want to make the essay worth a certain amount and the assessment worth a certain amount, we'll have to figure out what that is. And we can always make some adjustments afterwards, but we'll just make a good guess for right now. So our guess will be it's going to be 100 points total, and I want the essay portion to be worth 60 of that. So in that case, I'm going to click on the score button, which of course turns on date, and now I'm going to say 60 points. So now I know it's worth a total of 60 points. Then for the date, I'll select it. So if it's due the last day of class or if it's due the Monday of the last week, whatever you're setting it to, we'll set the date. So for mine, this is actually a relatively short course, but we can still set it. So I'm going to set it to the time I get to start this quiz. I'm sorry, this exam will be, I basically get 1 day to do it. So I'm going to say it starts on the first day of the last week, which is week 3, and that it's due the first day of week 3. So essentially I have 24 hours to work on it. That's a good piece of information to put in the student content area. If they're proctored exams, if they need to go somewhere to take it, or if they have to provide something to you, this is where you would put that information and decide on those due dates. And the due dates really are most important to just have the date in the course. If it's a fluid date, or like we talked about before, doing TBA, if you don't want to set a date, that's fine too. I'm just setting the date as an example. So now that I have that set, the students are going to turn it in too. So because they're going to submit it to their instructor, we must turn on the submit tool. So now there'll be a Dropbox location for them to put that exam when they're finished. So there's the basics of setting up that exam. So let's click save, because we want to make sure that that is there. It is saved, and we'll go back out to the course page. And we now have the essay that's worth 60 points, and it's due week 3, day 1. So essentially that's the second day of the week. Now let's move on to the multiple choice questions. So again, we're going to click on the object, change the icon again. And in this case, we're not going to set the score, and we're going to hold off on the date. We're not going to set that yet. But what we are going to do is we're going to turn on the assess tool. So I'm going to turn assess on, and I'm going to scroll to the bottom where I'll begin to create the assessments. So the first thing I'll do will be to create the questions. And the reason I recommend that you create the questions is you should play around with the layout a little bit. You should figure out how the layout works and how you want it to work first before configuring other things, because really the layout has some dependencies on how you want them to see it. If you want to group questions, if you don't want to group questions, that's really the thought process. I'm only going to do a couple of examples. I actually have another tutorial I'll send you on a little more in depth on how to do this, but we're going to focus on very typical multiple choice questions. So the first thing I'll do is I will drag in text, and dragging in text just basically means that I'm going to write the question here. But again, this is where it gets different on how you want to handle it. This could be just the title of the box. It could be a lot of different things. But we're going to use this as a question for right now. So my example question will be a multiple choice that's actually true or false. Is the sky blue? So that's my question. Now I want to put in the responses, or the possible answers, or what's also called distractors. So to do that, I can do it in several ways. I can add audio, I can add a picture, or I can add text. In my case, I'm going to add text. And I'm going to say true. Then I'm going to add a second one, which says false. And then I have to say, well, which is the right answer? Well, yes, the sky is blue, so I'm going to choose true as the answer. So this yellow indicates that that is the correct answer. So that way, as you're developing these, you can put them in, select the right one, and move on from there. User provides response by. There's a number of ways you can do it. They can interact with prompts. They can drag and drop, clicking, viewing flashcards, and typing. In our case, we're just going to do clicking for now, because we just want them to click on the answer. The other thing we want to set is in the Show Advanced section. Do you want them to see them horizontally, as in across the bottom, or do you want them to be stacked vertically? Either way is fine. I think vertically actually looks better, in my opinion, and I'll show you that in just a moment. And then the responses are scored by the system. We don't have an additional option for there right now, but eventually we'll have an option where the instructor can do that. So if you click on the preview, this is a general preview of what those questions will look like. Is the sky blue, true or false? And then the student will click on those to show their answer. Let's do another one. So same idea as what we just did. I'm going to drag another text box in. And this time we're going to do multiple choice. More than just two choices. So in this one we're going to say, how deep is the ocean? And then we'll add our possible responses. So in this case, I'm going to add 4. 1, so I'm going to click on text, scroll down here, text, text, text. So now there are 4. The next thing we'll do is add the possible answers. So I've given them some answers. Obviously none of these are right, but we'll pretend that 50 miles is the right answer. So I'm going to select that as the right answer. We're going to do the same things we did before. We're going to leave clicking as the option. Show advanced, we're going to change that to vertically. And we're going to leave, again, those responses are scored by the system. So let's scroll back up then, and now we can see we've got the multiple choice and we've got the true false, and they display in a very similar way. So I'm going to click save. And the system did warn me, I didn't talk about it, but it warned me that I needed to set my dates. So it did warn me. All right, so now that that's saved, the next thing we want to look at is emailing the results. You can only set this for one person at a time. So you can't set it for like a general, you can't set it for a group of individuals. You can't set it for, for it to look for something else in the system. Right now, you literally just put someone's information in there. So if you're doing, and it sounded like from when speaking to others before, that a lot of these courses have one instructor and there's one section. So you could potentially put that instructor's information in there. So I'm going to put mine in. So I would put, since I'm the instructor, I'd put my information in there, or whoever's information it should be. And then restricting attempts. If I want them to only be able to do it once, I'm going to restrict their attempts so that they can't try it again later on. So they get to try the exam one time. Rules. Let's look at the rules. Points per correct response. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. Since our essay part of the exam was worth 60 points and we have to have 40, we'll have to calculate that so it comes out right, so that we have an 100-point exam if that's our intent. In our case, since I only have 2 questions, I'll just make both of them worth 20 points, and that should still accomplish, for our example, accomplish the same thing. So I'm going to save that. So now if I go to the top, points available now becomes 40. So let's go ahead and set the date, since I haven't done that yet. Right now it's set for TBA. Oh, I see. Okay. It doesn't actually let me set the dates on this one, but it will be next to the other one. So it will be, I'd forgotten about that. I'm sorry. I'm going to click save again. But it will be in the right location in any case. And so that might be a good case where you're going to put a lot of good information in that so they can see what it should be. So now I've got the essay exam, and this one is worth 60 points, one is worth 40. Now let's do a preview, because I want you to see how it actually operates. So I'm going to click preview, preview as student. And we'll scroll down to the bottom, and oh, I forgot to redeploy it. Sorry. Lots of steps, so you have to remember all those steps. So we're going to preview. We're going to redeploy that preview section, and this is really a good point. If you feel like the previews aren't working, sometimes we all forget to actually hit that button. So you may have previously previewed it, in which case you can't see those changes. So you have to redeploy every time you make a major change like that. So now it should be in place. Much better. Now I actually have those parts there. So then when I click on that. It looks like it didn't save my titles, but that's okay. I can go back and fix that. I'm going to go to the one that's the written exam. So I've got the essay attached. I've got the link to it. So if this was a long explanation, they'd be able to see it. And then they can submit it through that Dropbox. So that's that example. And then the other one, which was the quiz, click on this. So what we have at the bottom is the exam. So at this point, I can roll over those and say, is the sky blue? I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to say false. That is incorrect. And then how deep is the ocean? I think I set that to be 50 miles, so I got the right answer. Now, you may think that you are correct at this point. So if I click check complete assessment, it's going to send that to my instructor and everything's going to be done. But this is what I want to show you and have you understand and make a decision on whether you want to use this tool is, here's what I can also do. As a student, I can go in and I can select all of the answers to find the right one. So this may be a downside to you on using this as a tool because you can always get the right answer. So as far as the integrity of your exam and having students not be able to kind of cheat their way through, which I hate to call it cheating, but it is kind of a trial and error that they can use to find the right answers. You may find that to be not as desirable to use this as an assessment or an exam tool. So now that I have the right answers though, I'm going to click check complete assessment. The grade is recorded as that, and then my instructor will get the notification. Now, you'll see the email just come in, so let's look at it. So now I can see that for this object, multiple choice, date and time submitted, Julie Webker had 1 attempt, and this is her activity for that. So the email does send. So I've shown you now the entire process from beginning to end for creating those. You can certainly adjust that process, add in different information, and certainly do it differently. That was just one way of going about it. And again, I encourage you to play around with in the preview mode and in the other mode and how to create those multiple choice questions. That way you can be sure that it works the way you want to use it for your courses. You may find that it doesn't, you may find that it does, and we can certainly discuss that further, but I wanted to make sure you were aware of how it worked today, and if you have different needs, we can certainly talk about those as well. So I know this is a long video, but hopefully we got through much of what you were needing to create those.